Hunter x Hunter is back. The series is finally set to return in Weekly Shonen Jump in 2024. We know exactly what day it's going to be, and very excitingly, it looks like we're going to get an avalanche of chapters. So I'm going to lay out where we are, what to expect. We also have some updates about Volume 38, and Yoshihiro Togashi himself may have quite blatantly spoiled the contents of this new batch of chapters on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, our time has come. I have not had the privilege of announcing new Hunter x Hunter chapters for almost 2 whole years now. As it stands, the last Hunter x Hunter chapter that was released came out for Christmas on December 26, 2022. And this was the batch of chapters that ended the longest hiatus the series had ever endured from the beginning of 2019 to late 2022. Almost 3 years of Togashi-less content. And back in those days, it really was looking like Hunter x Hunter would just never return. So compared to that, you know what? 2 years seems like a blessing. But let's stop screwing around here and give you some sweet, sweet deets. Approval for the return of Hunter x Hunter was actually granted by the president of Shueisha in March 2023, which was only a couple of months after the previous batch of 10 chapters concluded, and ever since then, Togashi and his assistants have been working as best they could to complete a new batch. And some of the work had already been completed by that point, because Togashi had been posting progress updates indicating that he had been working as far ahead as chapter 405. However, he then went silent for quite some time, a lot of time. But then he kicked quite furiously into gear, and while some sources reported that Shueisha originally wanted Hunter x Hunter to return in August 2024, also known as, well, now, Togashi was able to negotiate with them and move that release date back to October. And so now chapter 401 is officially set to release on October 7th, which I believe is issue 45 of Weekly Shonen Jump. And the fact that it's being released in Weekly Shonen Jump is huge. That magazine has traditionally been the home of Hunter x Hunter, but there was some speculation that Hunter x Hunter would be moving to a different magazine, one that gets published monthly or even quarterly, just to be able to give Togashi that time to keep up. Because quite frankly, there is no way that he will ever be able to keep to a weekly schedule. It's just not on the cards. So that's why he works so far in advance with the batch system. New chapters of Hunter x Hunter do not release until there's enough of them to have a decent, unbroken 3-month run of them, which counts for a chapter a week, but counting a couple of jump breaks, and perhaps even an author break in there for a nice solid 3 months. And as for what to expect with this in mind, I can practically guarantee you 10 chapters, but there is very serious potential for more, because more do exist. If you don't follow Togashi on Twitter, you absolutely should, because he currently posts daily updates on Hunter x Hunter, usually taking a photo of the very bottom of the pages he's been working on that day. And at the time of this recording, Togashi has been working on pages 3 and 4 of chapter 418. I'll repeat that number once more, chapter 418. And I imagine that the goal is to have completed all the way up to chapter 420 by the October release date, which is very possible. However, what I should point out is that Togashi working on chapter 418 does not mean that it is anywhere near close to complete. What these images display tend to be rough sketches, which then need to be approved by his editor. After that, the inking can begin. After that, the assistants can be put to work by drawing backgrounds. And then after all of that is the typesetting and the final approval of the dialogue. And you know that last part, usually not such a big task in shonen manga, which tends to be very punch-fighty focused. But you guys, we all know this. Hunter x Hunter is a very text-heavy series, at least currently. So that dialogue phase actually takes a surprisingly long time to complete. Despite that, we could be looking at not just another 2 to 3 months of Hunter x Hunter, but something closer to 5 to 6 months if all goes according to plan. However, I do think it's very likely that there will be at least a short break after the first set of 10 chapters no matter what, just because if you look at the release trends on the Hiatus website, ever since 2016, Hunter x Hunter has only ever been released in a run of 10 chapters, and then it's taken a break for at least a couple of months before returning again. So even though Togashi is seriously threatening us with that 420, I do think that's more likely to come later next year, which would also result in 2 more volume releases, taking the total amount of volumes in the series to a mighty 40. And speaking of new volumes, aside from the Twitter updates, people keeping track of Hunter x Hunter production have known for quite some time that a series return was imminent, because there was a sudden announcement that Hunter x Hunter Volume 38 was going to be released in early September. This volume contains chapters 391 to 400, which covers the batch of 2022 chapters. And you might be asking yourselves, why did they take 2 years to release these? That would be because Shueisha's strategy with Hunter x Hunter, and I think most manga, is to only sell new volumes when new chapters are being published, which is why the the announcement of a new volume was practically a guarantee of new chapters coming soon. And I get why they do this, because it must be infinitely easier to sell manga when there's an active sense of investment in that manga's future. And right now, there is a certain level of excitement around Hunter x Hunter that has not been felt for 2 years. So I imagine that releasing a volume in, say, 2023, when the series was dormant, probably would not have sold anywhere near as well as it will now. Although surprisingly, on the cover of volume 38, Togashi has elected to use Gon, a character who has absolutely nothing to do with current events. In fact, last time we saw Gon was in chapter 345, which was published in mid-2014. So our boy has been gone for over a decade at this point, and the sheer audacity of Gon to appear on the cover of a volume he's not even in, it's very cheeky. But to be fair, I get this as well. Even though he's been irrelevant for a decade, Gon is still the face of Hunter x Hunter. And if you're going to announce a big series return, it just makes marketing sense to use him. I haven't made it yet at the time of this recording, but I imagine I'll probably use Gon in the thumbnail of this video as well, because he's just the best character to make that instant series connection. When people are looking at what to watch on YouTube, they usually look at a thumbnail for like less than a second before deciding to click, so it really helps to have that immediate connection to Gon. As for the announcement itself, it was made in the most stereotypical Japanese way possible, with a formal press conference on the official Shonen Jump YouTube channel, but it came with this amazing video of the Succession Contest events, and mate, this goes pretty damn hard. I'm petrified about copyright from Japan, so I'm not going to show too much of it here, but it definitely sets a real dark, epic mood. The music is phenomenal, and the way they animate the panels is very dark and very ominous. The colors are also fantastic. And then after all of that, you just cut back to this guy talking formally to super happy music against a bright background. It's all very wonderful. Now, as for what's happening in the manga right now, over the next few weeks, I have a series of Dark Continent and Succession Contest recap videos planned because, my god, they are necessary. 2 years is just too long. There's so many characters and situations and bodyguards and plans and nuances that even I forget about. And making these videos has reminded me of so much. But what happened at the end of chapter 400 was that we transitioned away from the Phantom Troop and the war against the Haley family, and we finally returned to Kurapika, who has decided to form an alliance with 5th Prince Tebepa, which unbeknownst to him is actually quite a solid strategy, because Tebepa also has an informal alliance with 4th Prince Saradnik, who is the wielder of all of the Scarlet Eyes that Kurapika is currently seeking. That is the very last thing that happened, but there is so much happening all around it. And it feels like this arc is about to go wild. Assuming we do receive a full 20 chapters, I also think that there is a fair chance that the Succession Contest could actually end, or come very close to ending with this batch of 20. I know that everything feels like it's gone painfully slowly because of all the hiatuses, hiatusi, whatever the plural is, but 20 chapters is a colossal amount of story space, and it would bring the total number of chapters for the Succession Contest arc to almost 70. In fact, not almost. Just after 70, I think it would be 71. Although to be fair, that is still approximately only half the amount of chapters that the Chimera Ant arc was. And there is a realistic possibility that the Succession Contest could go on to, how shall we say, reach those Antsome heights. But this 20 would officially make the Succession Contest arc the second longest arc in all of Hunter x Hunter. And currently that second place is still held by Greed Island, which sits at 65 chapters, a very achievable amount to defeat. And what I can say about current events is that Togashi posted a very interesting update whilst he was drawing chapter 417, which appears to show someone's feet in the water, perhaps indicating that the Blackwell 1 is being flooded, which would pretty seriously speed up the urgency required to end this arc. Alternatively, it could also be a flashback or a funky Nen ability. During the last batch, I remember that Togashi posted a full image of a tree that he'd drawn. And mate, this tree, it went off. With everyone, including me, speculating that this tree could be our first look at the Dark Continent, but it turned out to just be part of the forest in the Phantom Troop flashback. A very depressing forest where the Phantom Trooplets found Saras's dismembered body. So with that in mind, I'm trying not to jump to too many conclusions with the clues that we have, because Hunter x Hunter is not a straightforward shonen, and more so than most series, quite literally anything can happen. I also have to say, it's kind of funny timing to announce Hunter x Hunter's return right now, because this comes hand in hand with the news that Jujutsu Kaisen is officially ending in 5 chapters. So there's a mix of celebration and despair on the internet right now, because from what I've seen, I don't think the Jujutsu Kaisen fans are particularly happy with this reality. I don't quite have my pulse on what's happening there at the moment. I kind of tuned out after the Gojo thing. But with My Hero Academia also having ended, this really is closing the book on a whole era of manga. Meanwhile, the absolute titans that are One Piece and Hunter x Hunter just relentlessly continue to live on. 2 manga that both both began around the same time in the late 90s, are somehow outliving every modern manga now well into the mid-2020s. But the reactions to the Hunter x Hunter news so far has been incredibly positive, and most can be summed up by the following comment: WTF, square, 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 tongue, tongue, tongue. Fascinating, but also this. Excited, but also reserved. I'd like to see the end of Hunter x Hunter someday. Here's hoping it never has to leave. If you're looking for an ending, these chapters definitely aren't going to give you that. However, Togashi already has. This happened a while ago now, but Togashi released one of his rejected endings for Hunter x Hunter, and he did so with the message to consider it the canon ending should he tragically pass away before completing the series. And it's an ending that focuses on Gon's granddaughter Gin, who I previously incorrectly pronounced as Jean, or Jin. I forget which one, but I was wrong. This ending follows a day in her life, and it's the exact opposite of what we would expect of Gon. Instead, Gon's granddaughter wants to live a very quiet life on Whale Island with her boyfriend and her grandmother. And the ending is very vague, but it does also imply that Gon eventually got his Nen back and was able to go on many, many more adventures as a hunter. So many that even now in his old age, he is still adventuring to this very day, because Gon himself does not appear on Whale Island. In addition to that, Togashi also added that the ending for the series he wants to make will probably be quite unsatisfying for readers, and that he's currently tossing up over whether or not to compromise his personal vision for the expectations of the readers. Basically, Togashi is probably looking to go super nihilistic with the ending, which is probably why this, somewhat happy ending has been rejected. And there's a lot more to it than that. I have a full video covering those endings on the channel if you're interested. For now, this channel is going to be seriously amping up productions and talking about fictional hunters like never before. So subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, donate to my Patreon, and leave your credit card details in the comments below, as well as your desires and speculation for what's going to happen in the upcoming chapters, and I may or may not read them.